Alright, Fearless Mods fans, we are going to go take a look at the Trans Am, see if we can try to continue sorting out this problem. I'm going to show you some old footage here from when we first brought it back to Ohio and were able to put it on a tester, a snap-on engine analyzer, and no codes were stored. The check engine light comes on every time I drive it, intermittently, but it almost without fail comes on every time. So does the low coolant light, which is not on right now. The check engine light is. The low coolant light is really just kind of a bad sending unit in the tank. I just need to replace that. So that'll happen at a later date. I've talked to you many times about how this OBD2 system has an OBD1 12-pin connector and nothing will read it properly. Well, the snap-on tester showed me what the difference was to be able to enable that, and that is a 12-volt power lead going into the side of the connector. Bear with me as we go through some of this old footage, and from there, maybe we'll replace the EGR valve. Bottom line, we've got to get rid of this miss. It is getting unlivable. I want to let you in on a little work that we're doing here on the Trans Am. So we brought it, trailered it back here to Ohio, and it continues to have that miss since the last time we did the injectors on it. So what we've been doing here is a little bit of just troubleshooting. Before, I tried pulling off each plug wire and couldn't isolate which cylinder might be dropping. So now we stuck the timing light on each one to see if each one was firing, and in fact each one does trigger the timing light, but that doesn't mean that it is actually, you know, sparking to the right level that it needs to. It's hard to do that without an oscilloscope. But we do have the snap-on tester here. So the plan is to go ahead and finally, now that we have a tester that can work with this OBD1 connector and an OBD2 system, to maybe actually finally get some readings here that might tell us what cylinders are having some misfires. One of the keys to this connector that none of the other ones have when you buy them just as a normal GM OBD1 connector is this wire off the side here. That wire goes up, has an alligator clamp, and just clamps to the positive side of the battery to power this. The thing is, when you look at that, there are not many pins in there. It's a 12-pin connector, but there's probably only about 4 pins physically present. But this system's nice here because it has the remote here. Shows that it's attached to the car, it's exchanging data, and then it just wirelessly comes over here to this, and we can look at what's going on here. NOx sensor. Vehicle speed. Really like to see is if it shows any misfires. Doesn't show any there, and it's got no codes. If I go back here, the codes, I haven't cleared anything. No codes present. So here's the 12-pin connector, automatic transmission. So we're in the initial screens over here. I've already selected the Trans Am. So check for possible restricted injectors. We've replaced those. And it says if fuel pressure testing has been performed in basic ignition. So that's the hard stuff. The cylinder power balance test may help isolate faulty injectors. That's what I would like to do, is a cylinder power balance test. I'm not sure where I find that. So this is the first place I've seen where you can actually run a test. That's for coolant sensor accuracy. Everything else here, these are service bulletins that tell you, throttle body coking, fuel pressure gauge, possible poor fuel quality, all those different things. So it's not giving me a good test there. Misses on different cylinders. Possible OptiSpark assembly. Field techs suggest cleaning internal assembly through vent holes of unit with contact cleaner.
After spraying cleaner, thoroughly dry with shop air through the same vent holes. If condition improves, suspect OptiSpark assembly. If no improvement, OptiSpark unit may still be suspect. Check high and low resolution signals from the assembly at test connector at front of intake. GO94 schematic for complete OptiSpark testing. Let's see here, theory of OptiSpark systems. That tells you about the theory, tells you how it should be working. Trouble codes, but we don't have any trouble codes. Lots of trouble code options, but we're not having any. Okay, not really finding anything specific, so I'm going to go ahead and start it. Let's see what we got here for the live data. That should be timing. Left O2 sensor all over the place. And the right O2 sensor has some fluctuation, but at least it's at higher values. That's kind of interesting to note. I don't know how I swapped those. Well, now they're both kind of settling in. Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to put some load on it here and see what happens. Definitely more erratic on the right side. Can you push that close again real quick? I just want to see that. Oh, it is closed right now? You pushed it? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
What?
I can only hold it open with my fingers.
Oh, you mean you held it open?
I held it open.
Yeah, can you hold it open again real quick? So when it opened, you say it went lean?
Yeah, I can tell when it went lean. Usually they die. It's real injection, it's kind of hard to tell. The vibration is high.
I can hear it dropping down, and then there it flattens both of them out. So, yeah, it definitely made it drop down. Interesting thing is when you let it go back, well, now there you go. That did something.
Hammered on it. See it falling.
That's been very erratic. Oh, you're trying to find a vacuum leak?
Well, I'm going to spray it and get it and see if it streaks out this.
The other thing we're going to do here is get underneath the car because it's got a lot of clunks and everything when I accelerate. I want to check and see if there's any loose mounts or bushings or anything like that. Okay, so first thing, what we've been getting is a lot of clunks under here where I can actually feel the transmission, it feels like, slap the top of the tunnel when I accelerate hard. I'm going to do some things here and see if there's anything loose that could be causing it to get up in there and slap around like that. See if there's any evidence in there of anything hitting. I don't really see anything. I don't see any obviously loose bolts or anything. So we'll give it a look. The other thing is there's a whole lot of, you can hear all that clunking. I think my rear end is probably about shot. It's got so much play in it. But there's a whole lot of noise just by rocking that drive shaft back and forth. So I'm going to do my best here to show you how much play there is in this rear differential. That is the problem. That's where all my noise and such is coming from. Wow, that tire has got a huge center dip in it. It does too. These tires are shot. They're all really low in the middle. All right, so let me see if I can show this to you here. Here, if I hold the drive shaft, rock the tire, you can see how much movement I'm getting there. Let me see if you can see it on this tire. So I'm holding the drive shaft steady for the most part. And every bit of that movement you're seeing in that wheel is gaps between teeth in the rear differential. So my guess is that when they were trying to drop the tank to get to the fuel sender, which I'll need to do too at some point, is that they cut the exhaust here so they could just pull the whole rear exhaust off, which would then get them the ability to drop the tank on down. That's my guess. Wow, I am white. There we go. But when I put this clamp on to cover this, where they had cut it in half, these bolts are shooting straight up into the bottom of the car, and I can hit it with that, and it's leaving little puncture marks in there, which I'm not sure you can see. That's not the source of my clunk, but that is the source of a noise, so I may loosely try to rotate this around. Alright, so I think I've got the culprit here. You can see up in there, you see the shiny part right up there. So the top of the, if I can get it focus better. So the top of this drive shaft housing, or the drive shaft itself, really, the forward yoke, is jumping up in there and hitting the tunnel right there, which means that when I stomp on it and this torsion bar kicks upward, it's mounted right here to the back of the transmission, so it's kicking it all the way up into the top of the tunnel there, which means more than likely this is toast. So I'm going to give that a look and see if that's not holding. See right there, I can almost get it all the way up there to touch it just by rocking it right there. This is totally toast, trash. So that's my problem I need to fix. Probably go with a solid mount or something like that, because I do believe I've replaced that in the past. I'll look and see what some of the options are, but that's uncool. This is essentially a wheelie bar for the back that doesn't stick out the back. It comes forward and uses the transmission as a to keep it from popping the front end of the car off the ground. And so this, actually traction bar, that's what's preventing the differential from pivoting as you accelerate. But it's transferring all that energy up to here into an upward motion all concentrated right here on this transmission mount, so probably not the best design in the world. If I was in my own shop, hell, I might even take a piece of chain, go around the top of here, and fasten it around this just to make it have a stop. But I'm not, and I don't. So maybe not right now. All right, GoPro's dead, so we'll see what we can do here. But bottom line, I've pulled off the vacuum hose back here, and I'm going to try to get to the two 9/16 nuts, I think, that are holding the CGR valve on. My plan is to pull it off. Everything's good and hot back there, unfortunately, but pull it off and have a look and see if there's carbon buildup before I decide whether or not to replace it. Hot, hot. Well, there she is. So yeah, it's got some carbon buildup, but it doesn't seem to be plugged. See if we can get a look back at the engine too. You can see it sucking back there. Yeah, so it's moving. So it looks pretty clear. Oh, that's hot. Those look pretty clear from what I can tell. I need to get some light back there. I can tell it's pretty clear. Alright, so what I've done here is I wiped off this and was blowing through it. Cover this so it doesn't blow in my eyes. And I can blow through it pretty well, even with the valve closed. If I push on the diaphragm, I don't know if I can do all this and hold the camera. I can't push the diaphragm and open it while I'm doing the camera, but if I push the diaphragm and release it, it opens up. So what I think is maybe there's a lot of carbon buildup inside of this, and that could be a lot of the cause, because when I use the new one, it's solid. So it seals up good until I do that. So it's leaking while it's closed. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put the new one on just as a preventive measure. Hopefully it is part of the problem. This is a negative pressure, so that the N on the end of that serial number, and the new one also, if you can see it on there, has an N designated right here. And I don't know a lot about them, but I will say that what that means is if you put a vacuum hose on this and try to test it on the car, like I did with the old one, it does hold pressure just fine, because the valve is working fine. It's the carbon buildup again, remember? But once you start it, there is a means that it bypasses that pressure and allows the valve to close again, even if you have vacuum pressure on it. So that's what the N means. It doesn't hold pressure while it's running. Okay, so now the fun part of trying to get this gasket off. Let's see what we can do here. What I think I'll try to do now is get in there with a rag or something and see if I can get some of that out. Maybe a little screwdriver to see what I can break up and get some of that out. Just dirty in there. It didn't really seem to be plugged up, so I'm going to go ahead and put this one on. I've put the gasket just on top of here. The round part will help hold it, and I'm going to put it over the two studs here. Okay, Okay, so it is tightened on there. Now I'll just go ahead and put this backing line back on, and we should be good to go. If, in fact, that was a problem. So this is going to be one of those fingers crossed moments where we don't know if we fixed it or not, but it's cheaper than the, it's definitely cheaper than the fuel injectors that we put on it. So we'll go ahead and get it down off the lift and see if hopefully that little bit of a leak because of the carbon buildup was the problem. All right, so even just right here, there it is. I can already feel it. It's still doing it. So once again, the elusive dropping cylinders under acceleration have thwarted me and cost me more money. But now I've got a new EGR valve, so hey, maybe I'll be more fuel efficient. Next will be, there was the thump. So next will be fixing the transmission mount so that it isn't going to destroy my little tunnel here. Gosh, that miss is horrible. And then probably on this miss, probably have to go after the, hopefully not the OptiSpark, but start with the cap and the rotor. It was a lot easier to see under there with the lift. I really wish I had one of those lifts at home. So that I could get underneath there and get to the spark plugs and the OptiSpark and everything a lot easier. But that's a nice facility to be able to use. So that's what I will plan to do when I go to tackle that. So stay tuned. Next will be trying to be able to read the codes as well as getting the going after the OptiSpark perhaps. So thanks for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. And one of these days, we'll get this Trans Am running like it did 24 plus years ago when I bought her. All right, take care, guys.